The brutal truth: 90% of the calls, messages, and coffee meetups you engage in every week create zero value. They are silently draining the future out of you. Today we're looking at the cold, hard biology of digital exhaustion in this explainer, and why reclaiming your life requires ruthless boundaries.
Let's start with a massive paradox. We have these shiny platforms that supposedly erase global distance. Yet, a quick 15-minute video call leaves you completely dead inside, while a 2-hour in-person coffee date doesn't. It's not because you're weak, it is a fundamental biological mismatch. Neurophysiological data is crystal clear here. 15 minutes. That is literally all it takes in a virtual meeting for your heart rate to drop and your brain waves to flatline into profound exhaustion. Your brain is aggressively rejecting this unnatural digital environment right from the start.
Stanford researchers mapped out exactly why this happens, identifying 5 specific triggers for video fatigue. You've got mirror anxiety, staring at your own face like a digital narcissism trap. Hypergaze, where you feel hunted by a grid of staring eyes. You're physically trapped in a camera frame, and you're burning immense cognitive fuel producing and monitoring nonverbal cues that should just be automatic. This isn't a personal failing, it is predictable biological burnout.
Add the physical toll to that cognitive overload, and the picture gets even darker. Nearly 70% of regular computer users are dealing with digital eye strain, dry eyes, blurred vision, headaches. We are forcing our biology to process an endless stream of inputs it absolutely did not evolve to handle.
Section 1. Decoding Dunbar's number, the cognitive limits of sociality.
Here is where science shatters our modern morality around networking. The human brain was never designed to genuinely care about hundreds of people online. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar calculated this biological hard limit based on our neocortex size. It's about 150 people. That's it. Your obsession with pleasing everyone online is exactly why you're exhausted and incapable of doing meaningful work.
We map these social limits through what's called an ego communication network. Picture yourself, the ego, at the center, mapped against every single incoming and outgoing contact. Telecom data uses these to track precisely how many people you actively burn time and cognitive resources trying to keep in your orbit.
Now, science requires impartial review, so we have to acknowledge the debate. Proponents point to massive data sets from social media and telecom records, proving we still naturally cap our active relationships around 150 to 300 people. The internet didn't magically upgrade our brain hardware. Critics, however, point out that if you reanalyze the primate data, the statistical confidence intervals are massive, from 4 to 520 people. They argue human culture lets us bypass strict biological limits, but let's look at what actually happens when we try.
The data shows a ruthless reality. When you push your network past that 150 mark using digital platforms, your average emotional closeness plummets. You spread yourself so thin that your strong ties dissolve. Quality dies the absolute second quantity takes over.
Section 2. The cost of infinite empathy, when the digital world overwhelms.
Constant exposure to global suffering on your feed triggers compassion fatigue. Your empathy literally weaponizes against you, leading to emotional numbness, depersonalization, and a devastating sense of helplessness. You are absorbing the world's trauma 24/7, and it is destroying your baseline psychological stability.
Section 3. Burnout versus compassion fatigue, untangling the diagnosis.
You have to accurately diagnose the damage. Look at this matrix. Burnout comes from systemic workplace failures, insane workloads that breed cynicism and anger at the organization. Compassion fatigue is entirely different. It's the crushing emotional weight of secondary trauma. You're not just apathetic, you're experiencing deep grief, sadness, and sheer depletion from caring too much about things you cannot control.
What's terrifying is that experiencing both simultaneously is incredibly common, especially for frontline and high-stress remote workers. You are dealing with a toxic combination of systemic failure and emotional overload. A weekend off isn't going to fix this. You need a cold, calculated survival strategy.
Section 4. The power of empowered refusal. Reclaiming your cognitive limits.
To survive, you must weaponize the psychological framework of empowered refusal. An empowered no isn't a polite apology, it's a strategic alignment with your core purpose. This is where we introduce the concept of strategic ghosting. Refusing people or simply disappearing from pointless interactions isn't rude. It is a privilege reserved for people who truly control their own lives.
If you absolutely must engage, use this framework.
1. Acknowledge the request. 2. Hit them with the cold hard data of your current capacity constraints. 3. Reinforce the no. You are not asking for permission to decline. You are stating a biological and operational fact. You are fiercely protecting your cognitive bandwidth.
At a structural level, empowered refusal requires absolute clarity on what does not matter. You need an active do not do list. Every time you say yes to a meaningless task or a worthless virtual meeting, you are voluntarily bleeding out your own potential. Stop doing it.
Understanding the hard signs of your cognitive limits gives you the profound power to cut the dead weight. You are not wired to maintain thousands of connections or absorb infinite trauma, so the choice is yours. The people who truly value you will respect your absence. The ones who get angry because you didn't reply to their messages? Congratulations, you just successfully filtered out another emotional vampire.